Hello, everyone. Welcome to Lunch for the Soul, a special Thanksgiving version this week. We have the most amazing young mom who has an incredible story to share about how very thankful she is this Thanksgiving. She actually died while giving birth to her triplets and was brought back to life after 45 minutes. It is a remarkable story that is going to touch your heart, certainly your soul. I don't want to wait any longer. Let's bring her in. So I'm talking about Precious Marissa. Welcome to Lunch for the Soul.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
What story you have to share. It was such an honor to recently meet you at Memorial Hermann in the Woodlands. It was great to be there and meet your husband and these precious babies and your son. We have to mention Precious. So introduce us to your family first of all. Tell us who we have here.
So obviously myself, my husband Dylan, Grayson is our 4-year-old son, and then we've got Charlotte, Kendall, and Collins. If I'm seeing in the light right, that would be I'm holding Charlotte, and then Dylan has Kendall and Collins.
And how old are they now?
They turned 3 months last week, so it's been 3 months.
And they're doing so well. And I love being able to see their beautiful selves and your handsome young boy. And I also got to meet your doctor who was just the head of all of this. So tell us about her, and then we're going to get right into your story after that.
Okay, absolutely. Oh, Dr. Samuel. I don't know if I could say more kind things about Dr. Samuel. She was actually recommended to me by my original OB who delivered Grayson, because I was just a little too high risk for him. But she's been there since the beginning, and she's just been amazing. She's the reason I'm sitting here today.
Well, and this personality, right? I mean, I could see her with your children, and she just has, it's just so amazing. But she was spot on with your diagnosis. She knew exactly what was going on. This is no laughing matter. Let's get right into that, Marissa, because everything was going fine with your delivery. The three babies came into this world. Your husband tells me he was taking pictures of you, and you both were crying tears of joy. Then your doctor describes your arms went up in the air and you were gone. So tell us what you were diagnosed with and what happened.
It's an AFE, an amniotic fluid embolism. In layman's terms, basically, my body had an allergic reaction to amniotic fluid entering my system, and it kind of just shut down my whole body. Basically, it stopped my heart. My heart coded. There were a lot of other things that happened. It was like a domino effect of failures in my body. I was clotting blood, but I also was bleeding it from everywhere. They worked on my heart for 45 minutes. Luckily, they got me oxygen. They got me on ECMO. But it was a little touch and go there for a little bit. It all happened very fast.
And ECMO is where it's a little difficult in layman's terms as well, but basically it's being your heart and lungs all at once, right? I mean, it
was doing it for me
to keep you alive. And okay, so let's talk about where you were, because we know when you deliver babies, you can go to any hospital, right? You happen to be in a trauma 2 hospital, the only one in South Montgomery County. How big of a deal was that? Because the equipment you talked about, this ECMO, without that, your doctor says you couldn't have lived. You had about 40 medical workers in that operating room doing what they could, teams of CPR, because after you can only do it for so long. A new team would come in for 45 minutes. They worked to bring you back to life. Can you even fathom being anywhere else and what would have happened?
I truly think I would be dead if I had been anywhere else. They jumped into action so quickly. They knew exactly what to do. They had the blood that I needed. I needed about 100 plus units of blood by the end of that day. I shudder to think of where I would be if I hadn't been at that hospital. The medical personnel there truly saved my life with their quick thinking.
And when I talk to your husband, and he's just so loving and kind about you, and I could just feel the love between you, and he was having to endure all this. This is the part that's so hard for probably people to understand. You don't even remember going to the hospital, right? You don't remember ever showing up there. Well, I think you said the last thing you remember was going to a movie the weekend before. Is that right?
Yeah, I lost about 3.5 to 4 days. before going into the hospital. So when I woke up, I had no memory of even going to the hospital to get to
You
deliver.
woke up, I believe, was it 6 days later
Yes,
after the
just
hospital?
mm-hmm.
Fighting for your life all that time. And then you were in the hospital for more than 2 weeks. I think it's almost a blessing that you don't remember any of that, don't you? It's just your body probably healing and you not needing to go there.
Absolutely. I think it was my brain's way of protecting me. I'm sure it is sad that I don't remember delivering them. That's a little painful sometimes, but all in all, I think it would have been pretty traumatic to
Mhm.
have to remember everything that happened that day.
We see you here with the babies and they're just all lined up and we know that that chest to chest is so important for a newborn. What is the first memory? Do you remember this when this photo was taken?
I have very hazy memories of this.
Mhm.
This wasn't they had done skin to skin with me when I was still in my coma, but this was the first time they brought them up after I'd woken up. Um, it's very, very hazy. Like even now, I vaguely remember giving them a kiss as they took them away. But it was still, I'd say 2 or 3 days before I was pretty coherent where I have solid memories of the people I talked to and the things I did.
Well, you were, I mean, there were so many people who helped you. Your doctor said at least 100 people through that 16 days in the hospital helped save your life, but you didn't remember them. You didn't even see most of them. Like you said, you were even in a coma. So didn't even know they were taking care of you. And so I think it's so special when it was time for you to go home from the hospital. Here you are, you're getting stronger. You're able to sit up now. They
Mhm.
actually had a graduation ceremony for the babies when they got out of neonatal ICU and then had a special parade for you. What was it like when they bring out the graduation gowns? That had to be exciting.
Oh my gosh. We were very excited, but it was very overwhelming. Um,
Because we had to really
emotionally.
learn how to walk there again. But here you are with them in their little gowns.
Yes, it was very emotional. I didn't know it till we left, but both my husband and I were trying very, very hard not to cry because just I mean, for him, he had seen all these people, but some of these people I was meeting for the first time, and I was trying very hard not to cry just because the sheer amount of people who, touched my life without me remembering was a lot.
Their cap and gowns are so awesome. That's just a priceless moment. And then they basically had a medical parade for you with all of them lined up. And your doctor was telling me how much this meant to them. I know it meant a lot to you and your husband, and some days to your precious triplets when you get to tell them the stories. But to these people, they gave it their all. They knew your kids needed a mom. They wanted everything for you to live, and you did. I cannot fathom what it felt like to them. What do you think when you see this hug? I mean, that's a meaningful hug. That's not just a, oh, I'm glad you're okay. This is, I love you and I'm thrilled you're alive.
Oh my gosh. This is I love this woman. Her name is Liz. She's the director for the NICU. She actually gave us a tour of the NICU when I was probably 4 or 5 months pregnant.
Mm-hmm.
And so we had been in contact with her, and by this point, especially with the NICU nurses, I had been able to talk to them and kind of go through my story with them from their perspective.
Wow.
Just very emotional is the only way I know how to put it, just to see how close we became with that hospital staff, all of the hospital staff. It seems like they as much as they touched my life, we touched theirs.
Well, you know that, I mean, the situation could have gone so many different ways, and for it to have that happy of an ending, I cannot fathom what it meant to them because I know it means a lot to you. Here we are, Thanksgiving week. Can you talk to us about thankfulness and how your faith played a role in this? Because I know you feel that God was really in charge of all of this, going to right down to helping you find that right hospital to be in the first place.
um, First of all, like coming into this year's Thanksgiving, I'm so grateful for what I have in my life. I'm grateful for my family, for my friends, for the village that we have. And I know that all of that is because of God. Um, Faith is a very big part of my husband and I's life and how we want to raise our children, just knowing that there is a big man in charge and he is a loving God. And I know without a shadow of a doubt that he set us up in certain instances to get the help that we needed, not only at the hospital, but the village of people that we had taking care of us, taking care of our extended family, even who was there to support Dylan. We had people bringing like full catered meals up to the hospital just because they knew that my whole family was there. Dylan's whole family was there. I had people taking my son who needed a caregiver. They were just my friends, jumped right in and they were like, don't you worry about him. We've got him. We'll take him. And I truly credit it all to God, making sure that we had the right people and the right circumstances to get the help that we needed.
And one thing that your husband told me that just really stuck with me, and I'll always remember how he was talking about how he can't wait someday for Grayson to grow up and for him to be able to tell him how much he meant to him, that he, this little boy was helping keep him going through all this. He was there fighting for your life, but to know that, he could go home and talk to him because he couldn't really talk to the babies, that he couldn't talk back.
Right.
That he can't wait man to man someday to talk to him about how important he was in all of this. And I know that this is a balancing act for you, right? To be able to make that happen. Something else that really with me is how you talked about, let's face it, being the mom of triplets is very trying, right? And it can be difficult at times, especially if you're home alone, trying to feed three babies and crying babies. But you said everything's a lot easier now because on any hard day, you say, tell us how you feel about that.
It truly going through a kind of life altering traumatic experience like what I went through, it kind of puts a lot of things in perspective. And I think the hard stuff is still hard. It doesn't really make it any easier necessarily, but it makes it a lot more sweet to look back on. Every day I go to bed and I just thank God that I am here to raise these kids, that I'm here to be with my husband. Even though there's lots of crying.
Oh, yes, I'm sure.
I'm like, they're crying, they're here, they're healthy. And so it's a very good reminder to just that life is fragile and just to embrace the hard with the good and the easy, because you need both to balance each other out.
I know that sometimes it can be easy to question in life, why me? Why did this happen? Have you had to go through that, or are you just so thankful you don't even go there? Because I feel like after you have something so traumatic happen but survive it, you feel like, wow, my life has a whole lot of meaning. I'm obviously you have to raise babies, but do you feel like there's just even more that you want to do with your life now?
Absolutely. I do, especially when I was in the hospital and when I first came home, it was really hard to walk because I had basically an open wound in my stomach. So I couldn't do anything for myself really. And there were multiple times I remember being like, there's got to be a reason, because this is just the worst. This is so hard. I don't know how I'm going to do this. Why did I get chosen to do this? Because not only having triplets, which is crazy, but to have the AFE on top of it, there were definitely moments when I felt very overwhelmed with that idea, that I was like, why did it have to be me? Like, come on, like we can't just have one easy thing. But I feel like it was it's been very humbling for me. There are things that I've been afraid to do that I now feel like I can do, because I'm like, well, if I can do like the near-death experience, I can do anything. Like that thing is no big deal anymore to me, because I've already been through the worst, like what could have been the worst thing. So yeah, it kind of takes away the fear of some things as well.
And as far as recovery is concerned, are you 100%? Where are you with that?
I'd say almost 100%. I still have a long ways to go in terms of gaining a lot of my muscle back. My core was basically obliterated. So having to like push myself back to where I was. I was very, very active before I got pregnant. So, kind of trying to get back to that place to do the things that I love has been, we're kind of starting that journey. Um, but as far as the hospital, I'm pretty much 100%. All of my wounds have healed up. I've been cleared by all my doctors. Um, I can get up, I can take care of my kids.
Those are
So
all
that's
amazing things after all that you've been through, right?
good.
Do
Mhm.
you plan to start? Have you thought about any type of holiday tradition for them? Or are you, what are your thoughts about that?
My goodness. We have a couple that we did with our son that I'm excited to do. One of ours that we've done with him is we have our Christmas tree skirt has the handprints each year of our son. And this year, I almost cried the other day thinking about it. I was like, this year I get to add 4 children to it instead of one, which is something we prayed about for such a long time to have. Um, and hopefully, I mean, hopefully we get more traditions as time goes on. I think this holiday season might be a little chaotic with how young they are still.
Fair to say.
But just kind of embracing and pulling them into our pre-existing holiday traditions and figuring out what works for our family, I think is going to be a real adventure and going to be a lot of fun.
And you've also found some support groups, right, that have really made a big difference for you?
Oh, absolutely. The AFE Foundation reached out pretty quickly. I think I was still in the hospital actually when they reached out to Dylan and my brother-in-law actually, um, and said, "Hey, could you just pass on our information? We'd love to talk to her." And I've had a couple of them reach out and talk to me individually. Um, and honestly, there's a support group for AFE survivors. It's not very big.
Mhm.
Because it's pretty rare still, but it is very relieving to be able to connect with other survivors of this, and just see that I'm not the only one that's gone through it.
Well, and I think it's so important no matter what your condition, right? No matter what you're going through, to know that there are things like that out there that can really make a big difference. Well, Marissa, it's such an honor to talk to you. I'm so thankful for how far you've come, for you being able to share it with us. And as we look at your family here, I just wish you the happiest Thanksgiving with your 4 beautiful children. We are thankful for you to have shared your journey with us.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, and you tell your sweet husband hello from everybody from your Fox family. We're so happy for you.
Absolutely.
Take care of you.